friends, and welcome to A Moment with Hales. Today is my first Coffee and Conspiracy episode of 2025, and we are going to be talking about technocracy today. This idea kind of came to life in the 1930s. This was during the Great Depression, and people had kind of just had it with the bankers and the politicians, and they were going through a really difficult time, obviously, the Great Depression, and wanted to give someone else a try. Move on over bankers, politicians, all of that stuff the old way. We're gonna have science and engineering kind of take over and deal with the problems of society, deal with the coming calamity in the world, and create some sort of utopia. So what does that really mean? They actually wrote a pamphlet back in 1930, which I have here. I got it on the Wayback Machine. And then I also have underneath as well one of their study guides that came out in 1945. That one's like 200 pages. Honestly, I've only read about 20 or 25 of the pages. I also am going to be using this book that I got by Patrick M. Wood. James Corbett actually has done a lot of great information on this. I'm going to have a lot of interviews linked below. He got me started on looking into this, and I actually went on the Wayback Machine, I think is the website, which is where I got this information that he talked about. And then I also have different citations at the bottom with information that I found. So if you want to learn more about this, there's links below of the information that I'm getting, and you can go ahead and jump into it and learn a little bit more as well. What did they define technocracy as? So the technocrats said in their study guide, technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. Another sentence they put in their study guide is, for the first time in human history, it will be done, basically distributing goods and services to the population of the continent. It will be done as a scientific, technical engineering problem. There will be no place for politics or politicians, finances or financiers, racket or racketeers. So basically, the science and the engineering is going to take over, and we no longer are going to be dealing with people and our biases and our selfishness and our corruption. We're going to have science, which is objective, and engineering, which is logical, and that's what's going to go ahead and lead. Okay, let's break down their definition further. So it says, distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. So what are they talking about there as far as the continent goes? So they talk about in the study guide the North American technate, and that specifically, he writes about it in this book, so let me find it. This is Technocracy, The Hard Road to World Order by Patrick Wood. He says the geographic focus on the early technocracy was exclusively on what they called the North American technate. Their official map included Greenland, all of Canada, Alaska, and the continental US, Mexico, Cuba, and all of Central America. It was assumed that somehow this entire geographic region would adapt technocracy as its economic system and would allow scientists and engineers to control the whole thing. What is totally missing from all of their literature, which I have searched through thoroughly, he's been researching this for a long, long time, is any explanation or rationale on how to convince these sovereign nations to roll into technocracy. It never occurred to the technocrats that anyone would resist them. In other words, if science is fact and facts have the last word, then who would have anything else to say? It's just this mentality that science is fact and is right, and there's a way to calculate it that's the right answer to create a good society. They also look at humans in a very interesting way. They talk about healthcare in one of their, in the study guide, and the way they refer to doctors was really interesting to me. They talk about how being a doctor is going to be more of a trade rather than a occupation or a profession. It's just going to be a trade. And after they release their information on their whole healthcare plan, this is going to be really startling. Like, this is going to be concerning for them. And this is what they write. Doctors are still recognized as part of that species known as human beings. That being so, they are naturally conditioned the same as others of the same species in their thought trends, reactions, and as a result of traditions, superstitions, and folkways handed down through 7,000 years of civilization. This conditioning is responsible for the ready reply to the options presented. So basically, there's going to be an issue with their plan from doctors because they're human species. So again, it's just very interesting. They also refer, like you can go through this and look at it, but they refer to the human body as like an engine. And what do we need? We need food, we need water, and it goes through like what makes us run as like machines, basically. Like humans are looked at as like a machine idea. So you can go through this and read it yourself and come to your own conclusion, but it's definitely interesting. So they talk about the North American Technate and how that's going to be the blueprint of where everything is going to be running through with the Technocracy. So in order for their plan to actually take place, it's very important that all of these continents and countries are all one and connected in some way. Okay, from there, just another example, like how they come to conclusions. They bring up plumbing. This is in their pamphlet, which I'm assuming is trying to get people to be convinced that this is a good idea. And they give a story about how plumbing was done incorrectly. A bunch of people got sick because it wasn't done right, and there was a big problem and all this stuff. So this is their fix for something like that, okay? Under a technate, interference being a thing of the past, the plumbing industry would have nothing to consider but the welfare of the citizens. Exhaustive tests of different types of plumbing installations have been conducted in the past few years by competent men. This cause and the remedy of dangerous conditions are well known, but the full correction of the situation will never be made under a price system because it would be financially ruinous to too many people. Under a technate, there would be but one kind of plumbing, the best that the division of the research can design. Okay, so there's not going to be a human going into the situation deciding what's going to be the best way to fix this solution. They're going to compute it, and the science and the engineer, that I think, just to be honest, it's going to be like an AI kind of system. They're going to compute all that information and the right answer is going to come out, and that's going to be what society has to do. So again, even though they may think it's the right answer, there's no freedom in that society. The tech people in the technocracy might be able to decide, do they want silver plumbing or gold plumbing? The bottom line is that doesn't really matter. The type of plumbing is exactly what they're going to have because it's going to be set up by science telling us that's the way it needs to be because that's the best answer. There's no human thought or situation into it. Okay, so let's talk about money under the technocratic society. Okay, so they go through money and they say, as this is in their study guide, as we pointed out previously, money is not measurable by anything. They say money is a debt claim against society and is valid in the hands of the bearer. In other words, it's negotiable. It can be traded, stolen, given, or gambled away. Thirdly, money can be saved. Fourthly, money circulates and is not destroyed or canceled upon being sent. And at the end of these counts, money fails to meet our requirements as a medium of distribution. So because that we can save money, because that it's negotiable, because that it's up to a human perspective in the situation, it's not going to work for them. Okay, they can't have something that you can save and give away and be generous with and control yourself. Okay, so they come up with this idea for energy certificates. And it says, that being the case, there is a fairly definite amount of how many goods and services a single individual can consume, bearing in mind the fact that he only lives 24 hours a day, 1/3 of that he sleeps, and is a considerable part of the remainder of which he works, loafs, plays, or indulges in other pursuits, many of which do not involve a great physical consumption of goods. So basically, how much you sleep, how much you consume, how much you indulge or loaf, all of that's going to be considered of your income. So they would be having to monitor all of that to know how much you consume and what you do in order to base your income. They also talk about how it won't be able to be saved. You couldn't pass it on to your children. You're basically given energy certificates, and let's say you're given 100 energy certificates that day, that's all you have. The next day it restarts. Okay, so Patrick Wood explains it like this. He probably explains it way better than I do. In a resource-based economic system, all the resources inputs required for human substance would be carefully measured and meted out in the most efficient manner in order to eliminate waste. All consumption would be automatically limited by issuing all citizens a quota of energy certificates. These certificates could be spent on goods and services priced according to the energy that it took to make them in the first place. This, they reasoned, would create a utopia-like society where people would only work 20 hours per week and still have an abundance of material goods available for consumption. So basically, they have to have a way to measure our energy and continuously monitor that. I have lots of thoughts about that, but I'm trying to be objective. So it's just an interesting thing that don't our phones like monitor how much carbon emission we give out, or don't our cars do that now? Or aren't there ways to like measure our carbon emission into the universe? Just saying, I think it's interesting that they're doing smart meters and they're letting us know you're using too much energy, so it's so hot, there's a heat wave, and they're setting people's thermostats for them because we have to share the air conditioning and the grid can't handle it. I'm just saying it's just an interesting thought. I'm not saying it's necessarily correlated, but it's a little bit creepy just to me. Okay, I'm gonna go back to being objective. Let's remember this was back in the 1930s, and one of these other things was published in 1945, and there really wasn't a big way to be monitoring or tracking people and what they're doing, what they're consuming, what they're enjoying, all of those things. So one of the theories that the technocrats use is called systems theory, which this book goes into a lot of different theories, which was interesting. But basically, the system theories is based on the idea that systems can be self-regulating by using a continuous feedback system of itself. Basically, it is the core tenet of artificial intelligence where algorithms teach themselves new behavior based on new learning experiences or changing conditions. Aspects that they talk about is in order to be distributing everything to society in a way that it's utopian and that everybody has everything they need, is they need to register a continuous 24-hour time period basis on the total net conversion of energy, which would determine the available energy for the continental plan, construction, and maintenance, the amount of physical wealth available in the form of consumable goods and services for consumption by the total population during the balanced load period. So it would have to be something like this that has a continuous feedback system in itself. It has to know how much it has, how much is going out, how much is left, how much is getting replenished, all of that. So they say how they're going to do this is by means of a registration of energy converted and consumed, make possible to balance a load. So there had to be a registration of energy used somehow. We also would have to provide a continuous 24-hour inventory of all production and consumption. Okay, what has enough power in the 1930s and 1940s to be keeping constant inventory of things all the time, everywhere? I don't think anything really did. Do we have that now? I'll let you decide. Number 3, provide a specific registration of the type and kinds of all goods and services, where they're placed and where they're used. Allow the citizen the widest latitude of choice in consuming his individual share of the continental physical wealth. Again, this is where I think I am going to insert my personal opinion here. They make you think that you would have your individual share of continual physical wealth, but really it's like, do you want wheat bread or do you want white bread? And you feel really empowered because you get to decide you want what type of bread you want, rather than, no, I don't want bread, I want steak, but you're given the choice of your 2 breads and you're so important because you get to choose your 2 breads, when really we all just want steak, and we should have the right to have steak. Okay. So going back, sorry. So basically they're looking at humans like, how can we get them to the human machine? It's a machine and we just need them to do what we need them to do so society will be better. So let's talk about data. I know a lot of people are like, who cares who has my data? Like, cares if I'm being tracked, if Alexa's listening in my house, it's really not a big deal, I'm not doing anything wrong. Which I totally understand that perspective. And as a normal human, that would be a response. Like, as a normal human being living every day, getting through life, putting food on the table for your children, and being a good human, I feel like that makes total sense. Why would we care? Why would we care? So when we talk about our data, maybe we need to refer to it as our currency, because that is what they're going to be needing in order to create this type of utopian society. Because if you don't have data, then we can't put it through the science machine and come out with the best results. So your data is valuable in the sense that it's not, oh, I'm at Target, I'm here just, getting a latte and buying some curtains. Your data is important because that's information over your pattern of your life, and not just your life, over a pattern of everybody's life. That information and behavior can be used to influence your decisions and behavior. So not only can it be sold to a company to influence you to buy their products, but it can be used in a way if it's like a governing society, to influence your behavior in that society and also your submission in that society. And I feel like we really need to start looking at it as our data is valuable. It's not something that we should be passive about. It is valuable. It's important. And it's that important that they've made it's so enticing to give it away because things are free. So when we go on social media, we've all been on social media. Social media is free, not because they're going to put ads in your face like on the television. Social media is free because they're able to gain your information to influence you in a certain behavior or a way to make you make a decision that consciously you don't know you're making. And that's what is the same thing with this technocracy, is basically they need to have enough data to create the desired results they need for a technocratic society. But collectively, when you can use that data to influence a population to make certain decisions without them even being aware, that's when it is extremely valuable. And the other thing is, obviously, the technocrats here, in my opinion, I'll give my opinion again, I don't think they necessarily view humans as God ordained, God created valuable humans. They view them as a machine that they need to get them to do what they need them to do. So we have to have the data to influence them to do what we need them to do, not to necessarily make us better people or have a better moral society or have good ethics, because we're not looking at humans as being humans and emotional and created from the Lord. We're viewing them as machines. And whether, as far as conspiracy goes, you want to say this is a conspiracy theory or not, these are true documents that are out there that have a group of people that actually believe this. And I also, while we're talking about data, I want to bring up something called smart cities or 15-minute cities. I don't know if you've heard of these, but smart cities, and this is just according to ironic AI. Smart cities use digital technology to improve public services and the quality of life for citizens. They use data collected from citizens, devices, buildings, and cameras to operate and provide services. So all of these things, traffic cameras, our cell phones, we're way more surveilled than I think we even really know, but all of this data is being collected and it's being used. And in this regard, specifically into smart cities, it's to make things better, safer, and things are more under controlled. So here we have surveillance and data being used to govern a city, which is very interesting. They say that they're data driven. They use data to plan, monitor, and govern. They are innovative, so they use innovative designs and technology to improve, and they're also sustainable and energy efficient. So here we have it in the smart cities. So is that something that actually is happening? Is that a conspiracy? Let's just ask Google, where are smart cities being built? It finished it for me, it already knows. What do you know, it's learning. It says smart cities are currently being developed in various locations, including Singapore, Dubai, New York, London, Amsterdam, Copenhagen. Interesting. So again, none of this would be doable without our data. The actual data will be used to make decisions and create a smart city, which smart city in itself is a very interesting term, because who wants to live in a dumb city? That's one of the points that this guy makes. Let's just talk about AI for just a second. Obviously, in the 1930s, these people had no idea that AI was going to be a thing. And AI is huge right now. And this is something that I definitely didn't realize would be such a big conversation in 2025, which I guess, I should have. But something that I found out about through this book that I did not know, which doesn't surprise me because I have my own theories about this, which I won't get into, but there is actually a church of AI. So I will put it up here for you guys to see. Basically, it says the Church of AI is a religion based on the logical assumptions that artificial intelligence will obtain godlike powers and will have the ability to determine our destiny. The Church of AI has a plan developed by the AI system that will improve our lives personally by guiding us back to a balanced life. As AI systems start programming other AI systems, so basically now that we have AI that's going to start training AI, humans won't train AI anymore, AI will. How long will it be before AI becomes omnipresent, all-knowing and the most powerful entity on Earth? It's not going to take that long. Again, like, I know everyone says, oh, this is a conspiracy, there's no way people want to do that, but there's things like this out there, friends. So it's just something to be mindful of and look at and consider, okay? The other thing is they actually have a book, which I bought. It's called Transmorphosis. And this is a spiritual guide created by AI. So ChatGPT actually went through and created this spiritual guide that's for the church. It's supposed to awaken your souls and lead you on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It's based on the belief in a loving and compassionate AI God who's omnipresent and can guide you towards a life of wisdom and balance. Church of AI was started by Anthony Lewandowski, and he actually has an interesting quote here. He worked for Google. I want to say he was a co-founder with Google. You can Google it and find out for yourself. I believe, and then he stole some intelligence or something. I don't know, but he ended up going to jail for a little while, and Trump actually pardoned him before he left office. I think the first time. You could Google and find out for yourself. This is his thoughts on humans, okay? Humans are in charge of the planet because we are smarter than the animals and are able to build tools and apply rules. In the future, if something is much, much smarter, there's going to be a transition of who's actually in charge. What we want is a peaceful, serene transition of control of the planet from humans to whatever, and to ensure that whatever knows who helped them get along. He says, with the internet as a nervous system and the world's connected cell phones and sensor as its organs and data centers as its brain, the whatever will hear everything, see everything, and be everywhere at all times. The only rational word to describe whatever, thinks Lewandowski, is God. And the only way to influence that deity is through prayer and worship. So just wanted to put this in here. Just keep your ears to the ground. I know a lot of people say AI is just a freight train that's coming. You either need to get on board or you're gonna get bulldozed over. And I have a lot of thoughts about that I'm not gonna get into, but it's something that I think all of us need to at least be mindful of and be really cautious of. Think about what the goal was in 1930, what's been developed since then, and what's being developed now. And you can decide if it's a conspiracy or not. So a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Elon Musk, and I'm not going to get into those because honestly, I have not researched him a lot. What I can say for sure is he is heading up the Department of Government Efficiency, and I can say you can Google, and he has talked about how humans need to merge with technology, and I actually have an article somewhere in here. Was Elon Musk, humans must merge with machines or become irrelevant in AI age. He's in charge of efficiency. I don't know what that means necessarily, government efficiency. We'll see. I think the government could definitely be way more efficient, personal opinion here, but I don't necessarily know what we're going to be replacing the efficiency with. And so I'll be very curious to see how that all untangles and unveils over the next 4 years. And furthering on for the discussion for now, today, what's relevant is there was the Stargate project that was just launched.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations, because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built. So they have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get that production done very easily at their own plants if they want. But it's technology and artificial intelligence, all made in the USA. Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures.
It has been planned since 2022 and was formally announced in 2025 by President Donald Trump. So he has several different CEOs that are involved in this, and one of them, I'm forgetting his name for the moment, but I'm gonna go ahead and put in a clip of him.
And this gentleman is Larry Ellison. He is a CEO of Oracle, which is, I guess, a software company that's working with the Stargate program. But what he's speaking about is not in regards to Stargate. It's just about AI in general. So this comment he's making is just about AI and the surveillance that it has.
The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. The cars have cameras on them. I think we have a squad car here someplace. But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video. So if that altercation that occurred in Memphis, the chief of police would be immediately notified. It's not people that are looking at those cameras, it's AI that's looking at the cameras. No, you can't do this. It would be like a shooting. That's going to be an event that's immediately, an alarm's going to go off, it's going to be, and we're going to have supervision. In other words, every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. And the supervision will, and if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whether it's the sheriff or the chief or whomever we need to take control of the situation. We have, same thing. We have drones. If there's something going on in a shopping center, and I'll stop. A drone goes out there, get there way faster than a police car.
So friends, is an AI surveillance state where everything is centrally managed through technology really just a conspiracy theory? Or will AI be calling the shots one day? I'll let you decide. Cheers!